Astro friends, it's Melanie on the 22nd of October 2025. We're literally in the last hours now of Libra. The sun will enter Scorpio this evening at 8:51 p.m. And from that time on, it'll be a super Scorpionic time. Like the moon has already entered Scorpio afternooness. We had the tipping point new moon yesterday morning, the 21st, and shortly afterwards the moon entered Scorpio. Of course, the moon is faster, and followed by the sun this evening. Then once the sun is in Scorpio, we have the sun, the moon, Mercury going into pre-retro shadow, Mars and Lilith all in Scorpio. What a shift from air, from Libran air to Scorpionic water. From maybe deliberating, maybe being on the fence with choices, to diving in. This is Scorpio. Scorpio is all the emotions that come up with our choices, and things might feel more intense than usual as we are also going into the center, into the heart of autumn, into the dark season for real, as Samhain and Halloween are coming, as All Saints, All Souls are also 1st and 2nd of November. 2nd of November also Dia de Muertos. There's two Dias de Muertos, the 1st and the 2nd. And all of that as the veil is thinning and we're connecting to the other world, to the ancestors, to the beyond, right? So it's the grand mystery of life and what we call death and transformation, as nature is showing us as well. Once the leaves are coming down, they won't come up. And they will renew in spring, but not the same leaves. So we are now really diving in. Let's take a look at the tipping point new moon again for her integration. It just happened yesterday, and now in that newness that takes us into Scorpio season, a lot of that dynamic that she brought up is integrating. So here is again the new moon chart, sun and moon, 28-21, or where was it? 28-21 in Libra, opposing Chiron and Aries, E-R-I-S, end of Aries, and being in a wide square, coming out of that square, in fact, with Jupiter in Cancer. So a T-square, a cardinal, end of cardinal, going into fixed T-square. In fact, the sun, once the sun enters Scorpio on the this evening, but on the 24th, the sun will square Pluto. The sun in Scorpio will square Pluto, its own ruler. So that extends that T-square to a grand cross, in fact, right? So there's a lot of tension going on. There's also a grand trine here. This is the opportunity. The tension is the pressure, right? But all of it, so the linking, the connecting point, the common denominator is Jupiter here, end of Cancer, because it's part of the grand water trine, and it's the apex of that cardinal T-square. So Jupiter plays a really important role in this. What's going on with Jupiter? Jupiter will also go retrograde, by the way, on 11/11 until March 11 next year. End of Cancer has a Pisces undertone, so it is about feeling at home, being at home, belonging to the all, to the universe, to all that is, to the divine, to the unfathomable, to the grand mystery. So Jupiter really carries us with gentleness, with love, with compassion, and with the loving energy that can be represented by the Great Mother, by the ocean, by anything that allows for a rhythm and flow rather than linear and you know, structural linear patterns, right? So this is our go-to. Also in that square from the new moon, right? The moon also being ruled by Cancer to Jupiter, and also by that square that Jupiter itself will create with Chiron and Aries on the 23rd. That's tomorrow. So this is also building up. And this is actually just one of two. There will be a second one on December 21st, winter solstice. What is that square from Jupiter to Chiron that we're feeling, especially if you have any sun, moon, ascendant, planets, end of Cancer, end of Aries, but also end of Libra or end of Capricorn, then you definitely feel that. So as I said, the gentleness, the care, and the good fortune, right? That's also Jupiter. That comes from gentleness and care, and from welcoming. It's a welcoming, it's an embracing energy, right? That we extend to the human family, because Jupiter in Cancer also helps us see family in all sentient beings, in all humans and other beings as well, that are we are considering this earth as our home. And as we're extending our love, our care, our human family sense of belonging, there is good fortune coming from it, as I said, right? And it helps healing. Chiron, Aries, both together in Aries. This is the year when Chiron met Aries. It's not like when Harry met Sally, it's when Chiron met Aries, actually. 2025, it would have started last year already, but this year definitely extending into next year still. So what are the wounds here? What needs healing? Aries, Eris, is a mythological figure, is also an asteroid that represents division, discord. And we've seen so much of that, right? So division and discord, and leading to war, right? So Aries was the one who instigated the Trojan War because she felt excluded, and she became vengeful. So we don't need more wars over exclusion, over privileges, over anything. We need healing from the wounds of war, and also healing by recognizing the origins of war. Aries is about origin and starting. Where does everything start? So also starting at home, right? That's also Aries. And Cancer, in ourselves, in our family, when there could be division, when there could be, you know, with Aries, it often has to do with this belligerent energy that really comes from and is based on a survival dynamic. So when somebody is in survival mode, they are in a very, very kind of, it appears aggressive, but it is actually just an assertion of the life force, right? So also to see that, to be with that with compassion rather than with being offended by it, or being trying to repress that. You shouldn't be so aggressive. Also to see where it all stems from. So even Chiron in Aries itself brings up early wounds, wounds that showed up early in life. Maybe there was already a sense of abandonment, and you had to fend for yourself as a little one. And it can also have to do with wounds of family wounds, right? So with Chiron Aries, um, in terms of families having gone through wars, right? And so a lot of that is coming up with Jupiter in Cancer, but also as we step into the Scorpio season, early Scorpio from the Sun will be October 22nd this evening until November 1st, has also a Cancer undertone that is, according to my decanate system where the early part of each sign has the undertone of the cardinal sign of that element. That's sort of the formula. Don't want to expand on it here, but we can totally look into your chart with that lens of the decanates. Can be very revealing, can be really helpful. So early Scorpio, if you were born on from October 21st to November 1st, that would also have a Cancer undertone. What does that mean? So going deeper with one's emotions or underneath the emotions, what's sitting there in deeper layers that we usually don't access unless something happens, right? And it also is about family dynamics, the shadow, right? The things that family being in denial about things, right? So lots of things are under the carpet, are not being processed, have not been processed. So yeah, let's really help uh, get things out of the closet, literally, right? And deal with things. So not being afraid of the dark and going deeper instead. Also, the Super Scorpio season this year is aided by the fact that we are in the Chinese or lunar year of the snake, of the wood snake, in fact. So, snake is also about shedding skins, shedding layers, and that goes very well with Lilith in Scorpio. Lilith in Scorpio since end of March until winter solstice when she enters Sagittarius. So Lilith helps us, and Lilith will be super activated this month. First of all, by Mercury and Mars. When is that going to happen? By Mercury on the 24th, Mars on the 26th. They already were in conjunction. Mercury has passed Mars on the 19th. So now we can also mentally process maybe all sorts of aggressive energy, war stuff, and what are the deeper motives, what's the strategies for war. That's also a theme with early Scorpio, Mercury, Mars. Sorry, not early Scorpio, but in Scorpio. And yeah, so now as both Mercury and Mars this week pass Lilith, that will be interesting as well because Lilith can again bring us to our inner wild. What does that mean? The unconditioned self. Before we were conditioned, it's just like taming an animal or conditioning people, right? Out of the wild and original life force comes a certain is being changed and transformed by society, by uh, all sorts of systems that condition us. But Lilith helps us to uncondition ourselves, and that will be extra energized by Mars, and also we can find out more about that mentally, intellectually. How is our mind colonized and conditioned and all these things, right? That's Mercury Lilith, right? And we find our power again. They are both, all three in Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, and Pluto in early Aquarius is also about humanity being re-empowered, but a process needs to happen. It doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't come to us. Otherwise, we're looking again, like in the old Pisces age consciousness, we're looking for saviors. We're even on a spiritual level, right? We can look like, oh, here's this higher consciousness descending, and that's got to automatically change us. No, not quite like that, right? We also have to take matters into our hands and do something about it. This is also the Aquarius and Aries impulse. Aquarius is we have to also come together as humans, right, on one level and not give power and authority away to anything above us, right? And anyway, so no spiritual bypass here either, right? So it's like often on spiritual level, had that discussion in a Thanksgiving group and dinner. on the spiritual level, there's also this, it's sneaky. The old consciousness still comes in, right? So either it's all shiny, it's all just a beautiful and consciousness, and everything is just wonderful. No mention of the shadow, no processing of the shadow, and then expecting everything to just. It's always this the hopium, so to say, the hopium of the spiritual bypass. So I just want to call that out here today since the Scorpio season is starting. So let's call it out. Let's also look at our own shadow that we might project onto other people. That came up today in a session with a client, especially when there are, oppositions in your chart or Libra energy. It's often the dynamics with others, and we see in others mirrored and reflected an aspect of ourselves, and that can be the light or the shadow, anything in between. So, what else is coming up here this week? Let me look at my cheat sheet here, and then of course we go to the moon this week, which is waxing from newness to half moon. And let me just first of all address a few other things. Yeah, I already said the sun in early Scorpio. Sorry, that's my computer waking up. The sun in early Scorpio squares Pluto in early Aquarius. That's a big one as well on the 24th. So we have light and shadow, but light, the Scorpio light is already infused with the dark, right? So it's light in the dark, which is so beautifully represented also by literally the pumpkins, right? The pumpkins with a candlelight, with any light inside of that carved pumpkin also represents life after death, because the pumpkin is a representation of the skull, and the light is the undying light of the soul. And so that comes up, and that can also come up in because of the um, Aquarius Pluto that is squared by the sun, can also come up in community, in friendships, in groups, right? So where is the undying and always coming back, which is very Pluto expression is, I'll be back, right? So Pluto is what might die, but the spirit, the essence, doesn't die and come back in a new way, right? And that can show up, as I said, in community, with friends, with people. Maybe as we have gone through a little process here and there, we come back to the essence of friendship and community, and what also the world needs more in going forward, right? That is Aquarius. Then we have, already mentioned the Lilith factor. Oh yeah, we have also Mercury going into pre-retrograde shadow. What does that mean? So Mercury is now towards the end of Scorpio. Mercury will enter Sagittarius for the first time for phase 1 on November 29th. Interesting correspondence with the Atlas. Okay, I'm not mentioning Atlas in this one. A separate topic perhaps, and to be researched also mythologically, right? I just leave that to you at this point. So anyway, on the 29th is when Mercury enters Sagittarius for the first time, and will be in Sag until November 18th. And then because Mercury goes retro from November 9th to 29th, we have 2 phases of Mercury retro in Scorpio and in Sag. So now is the first phase of Mercury retro in Scorpio, and it will meet on the today. Today it meets the point from which it will go forward again on November 29th. And that is, so I just demonstrate that a little bit to you. So here, just after the new moon, Mercury is a little bit further in Scorpio, goes until about 6 or 7 degrees Sagittarius. From that place goes retrograde and back to this point where it is today. And this area is called then also the shadow um, phase and the shadow area in the zodiac in this case, right? From which Mercury goes back, it goes forward again, and also after the fact when Mercury is going forward and passes that Sagittarius place again in December, this is then the post-retro shadow ends, right? So now that whole shadow phase, then the storm phase, and the actual retro phase, all of that starts today and ends mid-December. So we might have then already premonitions of what might come up, what might be processed during the Mercury retro phase. And the interesting part is with Scorpio Sagittarius is also about the importance and need for tuning into our instincts from the Scorpio side and into our intuition from the Sagittarius side, right? So Sagittarius is the inner knowing, is the intuition, is the sense of where it's going. But we can be wrong, right? So Sagittarius is also storyteller. So with the Scorpio, with the Mercury retro starting from Sagittarius, we can also come across the need to call out stories, right? So things in the mind, it can be just a story. We have to really check in, is this true? And how do you know it's true, right? So that's where Mercury. And we have, as I said, also that grand trine here going on. So that comes into the picture also through Mercury. What does that mean? That grand water trine is a beautiful backdrop that we can access. We might be so busy dealing with this T-square here that I explained before, but the grand trine is always there as well. And it even includes Jupiter. A grand trine itself has a Jupiter dynamic because all the trines, here three trines equilateral, right? Three trines together forming this beautiful closed figure. Jupiter, why Jupiter? Because any trine has a Jupiter quality to it. It offers opportunities. It's like a synergy. The two together are more than each one of them individually and the sum of them. So these three planetary energies, they support each other so beautifully. And it's a grand water trine. So while a grand air trine is also is just fading, but has also happened, the grand water trine continues and will be on until early December. So we have Jupiter involved in Cancer. We have consistently also Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. And we have Scorpio planets which shift and change. At the end, so the grand finale, so to say, or the grand climax will be with the Scorpio, end of Scorpio new moon on the 19th/20th of November. Then the new moon will be even part of that grand trine. But the Pisces side, I want to say a few things about, and that's Saturn and Neptune. So we have Saturn already back in Pisces since September 1st, and Neptune now back in Pisces since today, right? So October 22nd, right after the new moon, catalyzed by the new moon, also Neptune once more back in Pisces. And how long? Until the 26th of January 2026, easy to remember. And Saturn will leave Pisces on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day. And then both of them come together for real. In July it was close, but super close, but then it will be an exact conjunction on the 1st degree of Aries on the 20th of February next year. But in the meantime, Neptune back in Pisces in its own ruled sign, joining Saturn into that grand water trine. So what's that about? So Neptune, one last phase, right? Neptune has been in Pisces since 2012. It's a big deal in its own sign, only every 165 years. And Pisces also being the last sign in the zodiac. So it also not just concludes this phase, a 13-year phase, 13 and a half years phase since 2012, it also, you could say, concludes a 165-year cycle with Neptune leaving Pisces, leaving this whole cycle that started with Neptune in Aries and is closing now. And it also, in my sense, has to do even with the washing out of the Pisces age, because we are now in a bigger transition into the Aquarius age, where we're coming out of these dynamics of Pisces having to do with what I said before, as some spiritual bypass and spirituality being hijacked, being mediated by religions, right? We don't need that mediation. We can have direct access, and humanity's awakening to that. Then we have also often a signature of the Pisces age has been this triad, not a grand trine that we're talking about, but a psychological, energetic, sociological, and so on triad between victims, perpetrators, saviors. So much suffering going around and around, and lots of situations having been engineered that create more victims, more need for saviors, and rescuing and so on, right? And then the question is, who's the perpetrator really, right? So often in the name, in that need for to be rescued, often being hijacked and being exploited. And often the shadow of the Pisces age has been, of course, also the Virgo side, which has to do with economic motives, right? So as we're now having Neptune once more back in Pisces and retrograde until mid-December, it's also time to really release this vibration, release it with love, not with contempt or judgment or like any, release it with love so that it really can be find its way back to be recycled. It's just energy, right? And it's about forgiveness also. And sometimes forgiveness is not even needed because there's nothing to forgive. We're all on a journey, right? And so that Neptune and Saturn also says, what's the teaching here, right? And when the lesson sort of is clear, we can easily release it. We don't need to recycle it. We don't need to go through another incarnation of that lesson, right? So yeah, and and end of Scorpio. So the Scorpio season really brings out that grand trine, as I said, right? Grand water trine. And Scorpio helps to go deeper, to process things that usually are under the surface. Now, what's going on with the moon this week? As I said, the moon is now in Scorpio since yesterday morning already, soon afternooners. Will be in Scorpio, will basically welcome the sun into Scorpio this evening. Will be in Scorpio until tomorrow evening, 9:19 p.m. Pacific. So these are days of diving in, since it's a new moon, right? Also in a new and fresh way, right? Maybe living a juicier life, a more magical life. What are your needs there? Maybe doing something that's a little bit edgy, but it's thrilling in a good way, right? And it can move the energy, right? So Scorpio is about processing things emotionally and physically too. So then it rules the digestion, right? Then the moon goes into Sagittarius tomorrow evening. Pacific will be in Sag on Friday, on Saturday, until Sunday morning. Yeah, so So the Sagittarius energy in the newness is like really brings a lot of movement, right? Lots of things come into motion. And literally, it's a wonderful time to go out, walk, hike, be in nature, or be inspired and inspiring. It's about the heart, it's about being moved and being moving. And it will activate the moon in Sag, will activate Uranus in Gemini. So that is already, both of that is a lot about freedom, right? So finding freedom. Then it will also activate the nodal axis, in fact, because the south node in Virgo, the north node in Pisces. So we had a lot of that going on in the eclipse season. And eclipse season, first one was March, and the most recent one is September. So maybe also all this Virgo energy that is so much motivated by bringing order into chaos, but seeing chaos, seeing problems, seeing issues everywhere. And then it's just you creates more jobs and more jobs, right? Sometimes the best way of serving a situation or a person is to let go and to relax. You don't always have to fix, right? And also to, yeah, uh, the Pisces, the bonus of Pisces, the higher vibration of Pisces, letting go and letting be, and creating a better vibration from which to, um, which would be really beneficial also for health and wellness and so on. And allowing things to rearrange themselves. We don't have to keep arranging the furniture. It's like a friend of mine keeps saying regarding the logs on the beach, oh, the furniture has been rearranged by the ocean, right? So, anyway, and then the moon goes into Capricorn. I'll say one more thing also with the moon in Sag will also square Saturn and Neptune, end of Pisces on the 26th. So, there, this Sagittarius Pisces being so strongly activated has both to do with trust, with faith, with allowing and letting go and letting God, right? So, and it can be also a big kaleidoscope of life, a big understanding when everything is coming together and sort of converging from a Pisces perspective. It can be chaotic, can be also like, okay, I can just let myself be with this. I don't need to do anything about it. And through that, a new happiness can actually emerge, and also a new way of understanding what it's all about. Then the moon goes into Capricorn on Sunday morning, will be in Capricorn all day, most of Sunday, all day Monday, and pretty much all day Tuesday till the evening again, the end of our astro week. So that Capricorn moon, waxing moon, it makes things also more, it really adds substance and grounds us, because there's not much going on in in earth signs at this point. Only literally there's hardly anything in earth signs. I'm just saying, just the south node in Virgo, and the south node is not even a strong end. I mean, it's a pull, but it's not a really beneficial one. And so nothing much in earth at all. So we need the moon to ground us whenever the moon goes into an earth sign. Also, since the next Earth ingress, next planet going into an Earth sign will be Uranus going back into Taurus on the 7th of November, and then we gotta wait for the faster moving, more personal planets going into Capricorn, but that still takes a bit, right? So there's not a very grounded uh, autumn here, which, I mean, it also the energy can move a lot, right? But we also need grounding, and the Capricorn moon can really help us with that. So that's it with the astro weather this week. Again, it turned out longer than expected. There's always more to say, but I leave it now and wish you a beautiful first week of Scorpio. Take care. Bye.